In this video, we're going to take a look at selecting polygon components. Since polygon models have so many different types of components that we can choose and manipulate, we have a special set of selection tools. Let's take a look and we'll create a simple primitive object. And of course, we know we have our marking menu that when I right-click on the object, it is context sensitive. Therefore, it automatically reads that I have a polygon object and goes to the individual polygon components. When we're in a component mode, we get that pre-selection highlight. When I choose a single component, it'll highlight, but what we can also do is double-click on that component to select an entire row or ring. So if I double-click this edge, I now get the entire loop on that object. If I select an adjacent edge here, I'll get the ring, or the loop going in the opposite direction. Now we can also hold Shift in order to get multiple loops or rings selected. And of course, we can manipulate those as we would any type of component selection. Now this will work with vertices as well as with faces. With vertices, we want to select more than one vert. If I double-click just on a single vert, I'm not going to get anything. If I select a single vert, then hold Shift and double-click on the second vert, I'll get my loop. Same thing with faces. However, if we double-click on a single face, it will select all of the faces in the model. But if I hold Shift and double-click on the second, I'll get the loop. Now we also have a special menu under Select, and we are in the Polygons menu set. I'll open this and let's dock this. And we'll slide that over. Here we have all of the components with a hotkey for selecting those components. This is the same as using our marking menu. However, these hotkeys will enter Maya into a global component mode. So here, I'm going to switch back to object mode and select the object. If I press F11, notice that Maya switches to a component mode that is global, not just specific to the object. Whereas if I go here and use my marking menu and go to face, it is only for this particular object and not global, as we can see up at the top. Now underneath here we have Select Edge Loop. This will bring me into a tool specifically for selecting those edge loops, and I don't need to select a second object, so I can just go to Vertex and grab that entire edge loop, and it will default to edge regardless of what I have selected in my marking menu. Or we can use the Select Ring tool, which is going to give me the ring of edges that are adjacent to my loops. Then we have the Select Border Edge tool, and I'm going to back out of this here and hit Q just to go to Select to remove any of my selection tools there. And I'm going to create a border edge. And I'll switch to faces, and let's go down on the bottom of our sphere here. And we'll just select a couple of faces going on the bottom here. We'll just grab all of them, and I'll delete those. Oops, I even got one there on the other side. That's fine. We'll just leave that. Now, I'll choose Select the Border Edge tool and double-click, and that will automatically grab that entire border edge. And we'll do so too with this extra face that I have over here. If I just double-click on the edge, it'll select the entire border. I'll hit Q again to back out of that tool, and let's just undo the destruction we did there. And we'll zoom out and look at our next one here, the Shortest Edge Path tool. This tool requires you to select the vertices. So I'm going to go to Vertex here and click on Shortest Edge Path. Notice that it automatically went to vertices there for me. We could also choose UVs. We're going to stick with vertices, and I'll click on a single vert there, and then go over here and choose my second vertex, and that will give me the edge path between the two vertices that I have chosen. And now every time I click, it'll give me that shortest path. And we can just continue going around the model. Some really useful tools are right here under Convert Selection. And let's bring this menu out as well. And once again, I'm going to hit Q to back out of that Select Shortest Edge Path tool. And let's just go to Object Mode, just kind of reset our model here. Let's look at the bottom there where I selected all of those faces. A faster way that we could have done that, instead of right-clicking and go to face and then selecting those, I'm going to choose Vertex. And I'll choose the single vertex in the middle. Then what I can do is convert my selection to faces. So with that vertices selected, I'll then choose to faces. This then converts that one vertex to all of the surrounding faces that were attached to it. From here, we can then convert to edges, take that just to edge loops, and then convert to faces. Now we can also access these through a marking menu, and I'm going to select, I'll just grab two verts there, and I'll hold Control and the right mouse button, and this will bring up a conversion marking menu for polygons. So with those two vertices selected, I can then move down with my mouse and go two faces. That's basically hitting that twice, and that will then convert my selection. And let's select vertex and vertex. And once again, I'm going to right click to faces, which branches out into another menu. And we have two here, two contained faces or two faces. I'm going to go to two faces again. And so you can see it will select all of the faces that are attached to those four vertices that I selected. Let's undo, hold Control, right mouse, two faces. This time I'm going to go to contained faces, and it will only convert the interior face of my vertex selection. So that can really help narrow things down. Now we have a couple of new ones here you can see that are highlighted in green. If I want to take this face and then go back to my vertex perimeter, we can choose this one right here. That will just then select the vertices on the exterior of the face. So let's right click and we'll grab a bunch of faces here. And then we'll convert to perimeter. So sometimes it's easier to select a vertex and then convert, or sometimes it's easier to select faces and then convert. It's not always a straight path based upon the components that you need selected. We can also take our existing selection and grow it or shrink it. We have grow selection region or shrink the selected region by using our greater than or less than keys. So to grow my selection, I'm going to hold Shift in order to get to the greater than symbol and grow my selection out, or hold Shift and choose the less than to shrink it. We can also use a set of constraints on our polygon objects to restrict us from selecting certain things. So I'm going to choose Select Using Constraints, which brings up a separate menu. And we want to turn on a couple of things here first before this tool will actually become active. For the constraint, I'm going to choose the current and next. And what this is looking for is the current object or the next object that I select. And I'm going to right click. Notice how nothing is over there just yet. It's looking for components. So I'm going to switch to faces. And now this lights up, and now we get a bunch of different options inside of here. If I only wanted to choose all of the triangles on my model, we can go to Order here and just check triangles. Notice how everything just got cleared there because those were quads. Now, because I'm on current and next, basically anything that I select hereafter is going to be limited by my polygon constraint that I just established, and that constraint will only allow me to select triangles. So when I come back out to my model here and I'll just draw a big marquee around the entire sphere, you'll see that nothing got selected except those triangles there and also the triangles on the bottom. If I just want to select the quads, well, we can just choose that and do the same thing. Notice none of the triangles are selected. We have several different options here that we can go through to restrict our selection. We can also, which I think is kind of unique, is that we have a random option here, and we'll just choose to activate that, and let's turn order off. This way we'll be selecting any type of polygon shape. And we'll just give it a little ratio value there, and then just draw a marquee again, and it will randomly select certain faces. We can double up on these, so if I just want quads, you'll notice that it will remove all of those, and we'll just redo this selection. Now, no triangles will be selected, only quads, and it will select a random amount of quads. When you're done with this tool, we want to choose Close and Reset. We can choose Close and Remember, but this will keep the constraint active. And for any polygon object or polygon components that we try and select, it will be limited by what we have set up here. So I'm going to choose Close and Reset, and now I'm able to select anything on my model. Now we have one more very useful tool here, and that is the Paint Select tool. This is great with working with polygon objects, especially when we need to select a lot of faces quickly. So I'm going to switch to Face. This will work on edges or vertices. Now with the Paint Select tool, I get a large brush. I can change the size of that brush by holding B as in boy, and then dragging with the left mouse button, left or right, to increase or decrease the size of that brush. When done, I'll just let go, and then I can just left click and basically paint on my model in order to select the components. I can deselect those components by simply holding Control and painting again. Letting go allows me to paint. Using Control allows me to deselect. And again, this will work on vertices as well as edges.